Cool.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Chit the Chat podcast, episode number 3. To start off, before we get into any of the lovely topics that we have, just want to guys let you know we've got very exciting news. The team here, we are very excited to bring you this new podcast that we've got coming up. We've been working on it behind the scenes for a couple of weeks now. It should be launching very soon. So keep watching until the end. We'll post a lot of our social medias, and I guess that's pretty much the news we've got. That being said, guys, I hope everyone here has been well. And on the topic of wellness, we're going to kick it off with the first topic to cover, being lockdown. Something that everyone in the world's been going through, and guess just wanted your take on it. I mean, Salam alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope everyone's doing well.
How have you been this lockdown? How have you been keeping yourself busy, man?
Alhamdulillah. I mean, I think things started really getting a bit restrictive after summer, right? Summer was where everyone was in the park, everyone was chilling. I mean, we had a lot of sports and whatnot. Alhamdulillah, we were obviously having our football league, which was going really well, actually, at least towards the end. And maybe we'll touch upon that towards the end of the podcast. But alhamdulillah, I think the issue lies is that it's been a bit difficult. It's been getting dark very quickly, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So it's, as soon as it goes towards that, you're not really that keen on going outside, even for a run. It's a bit cold as well. So I've been just trying to keep busy, alhamdulillah, with a few things. So work's been busy, and just kind of doing a bit of side projects as well, and catching up on a few books I'm reading. And alhamdulillah, I got the PS5 as well, so that's kept me a little bit busy.
Yeah, so you've been keeping us all
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm on the complete other end of the spectrum. I've been trying to find things to keep myself busy. You mentioned work. I mean, that's something that everyone. First lockdown, it was almost like, what are we doing? And I think it really, truly sort of put testament to what we can achieve when we put our minds together and we put, empathy together, that we were able to move corporate offices from their building into, people's dining halls, their rooms, and been able to still pump out the same amount of workflow. I mean, Hisham, I know you're very, you've been in a very massive, experienced environment of, I guess I want to call it corporate. I think you're the best example we have. How did you feel about that?
First of all, thank you guys, everyone, for joining us. It's been a while since the last one, or Chit the Chat episode. Things are very different at the moment, as in we are. Sorry, guys, I'm having a bit of
technical issues. Yeah, technical issues.
It wouldn't be a Chit the Chat podcast without any technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry. Yes. 1 second. Let me quickly sort that out. Give me 1 second.
Hisham, we'll let you sort that out.
Okay,
Azam,
I'm going to
take
sort
us
it out.
through.
Yeah, so, yeah, you can get it down, please. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Azam, tell me, man, how was your podcast? How was your lockdown? How have you been?
I thought I might just pause for a bit,
Oh,
that was really good. That was good.
I think Hisham is trying to prove to work that his camera and video setup's not working, so he doesn't have to, hand in some forms on time, probably deadlines. It's all right. But I mean, lockdown, I feel like compared to the last lockdown, hasn't been very, different. For example, if you go on the street right now, there's traffic, children going to school, and people going to uni. So it doesn't really feel like lockdown compared to the last one, which seems like when you walk in the middle of the street, it was like an apocalypse, a scene from a movie. That's what it was. But yeah, I wanted to keep it light-hearted, talk about me being in joggers for a whole month and whatnot, not having to look presentable and things like that. But unfortunately, the cases have been rising as well, as you can see. And, as cases have been rising, it's been affecting our community. And unfortunately, today I received a message one of our local community brothers passed away. He was in a critical situation. So may Allah forgive his sins and grant him Jannah al-Firdaus, inshallah, and all the other people who have passed away as well to this terrible disease. And all the people that are suffering, may Allah heal them as well, inshallah, give them a speedy recovery. So I know some of us, alhamdulillah, we're okay, but at the same time, there are people suffering. So inshallah, let's all keep them in our minds.
You know what? You touched on a great point there about, it's still out there. And the fact that this, I think for ourselves, I think between us four, like this is the first, case of a COVID death within our community. Like we read it in the news, we see the numbers rising, but we don't really hit it until it hits us personally, from someone from our area that, has gone through it. And I think that should be taken in its all seriousness, and it shouldn't be, I guess, basically what I'm trying to say, guys, is just wear your damn masks, please. Let's try and, fight this thing together, and hopefully, inshallah, you never know, next year we'll be looking at a, COVID, life.
Yeah, inshallah, definitely.
As you guys touch upon, I think it's been a little different this time around in terms of generally. I think obviously people are a bit more relaxed when it comes to this second lockdown. As the first time, it was more of it was a really new experience for everybody. Even people who are working from home, they wanted that freedom. They wanted to seclude from people, whatever it is. It was a very different, and we've never been through such a pandemic before in our lives. So the first lockdown was something new to everyone, and everyone was open to it, including myself. We were very careful. But then we got a bit of freedom after that. The lockdown got relaxed. I think luckily just after Eid time, it got relaxed, I think, and then people realized, okay, no, this is not what we want. And when the second lockdown came, a lot of people, started to, rebel. I think the only, to be honest with you, the only sector that was affected, I would say, was retail, where they shut just the retail shops and the sports facilities. But even through that, there were people still, going about what they were doing, because I think it's got to a point now where it's, like I said, like you guys rightly said, the threat is real. There are people dying for it. There are people becoming infected from it. But with the respect to those people who are vulnerable, I think people started to think, okay, you know what? It's not just about the lockdown anymore. Do you see what I mean? It's not just about the virus anymore. But yeah, like I said, it's been a very different mentality, a very different approach from people this time around. Like I said, the streets are, as Adu and Azam said, the streets are full. People are out and about. In the last lockdown, you couldn't see anyone on the streets at any given time. So even now, even though the laws are a bit more stricter now, police have more powers, but it still does not stop people from going about what they're doing. So like I said, this lockdown has been very different. And I think this year alone, I don't think we can even count 2020 as a year for social development or so on and so forth. But we have benefited from it one way or another. Even through lockdown, there have been the perks of it. From a work point of view, just adapting. I think everyone works from home, but adapting to that environment, and you're likely to work more long hours, to be honest with you, because there's no start time, there's no typical end time. So we just try and keep going as we can go, and so yeah.
Oh, for sure, man. And what I love is the fact that we're able to still carry life on, even though we've got this, invisible virus. It's not, we can't see it, but we're trying to fight it, and life hasn't stopped. For the first, I want to say 3-4 weeks, we were all pretty much locked up at home. I kid you not, I thought I had it at once. I'm not too sure. I still need to do the test, but I genuinely think that I was bedridden for like 2 weeks, bro. Like it was funny because I was lying in bed, and then my mum would come in with a plate of dinner. She'd open up the door, with all covering up her, nose and her mouth, just drop it off my table and just run back out of the room. It was, it was a good experience to have for self-isolating. But you know what? Anyone out there self-isolated, guys, just, the 2 weeks, get through it. you will see the light at the end of the tunnel and life will go back to normal. I mean, compared to last lockdown, I don't know who touched on it. This seems so much more relaxed. Do you think this was the right way to go ahead and, try and attempt a circuit breaker? I don't know what term they were using.
I think in this scenario, if you look at it a bit more carefully, I think we all know this, but why this time around it was so much more relaxed was if you look at it from a point of view where the certain rules the government brought in, okay, it just does not tally up or add up with a virus that is spreading. Example, closing business, hospitality restaurants at 10 o'clock and, saying, rule of six, either way, keeping schools open. To some people, look, if you're going for a lockdown, you go for a full lockdown. If you don't, it's this kind of things that made people realize, okay, this is not what it's supposed to be. And, just because you close a restaurant at 10 does not mean the virus is not going to spread before that. Do you see what I mean? And then, if it's a group of six, regardless, you're still meeting with a group of six people. So it is more of, okay, you know what, these rules don't make sense and we're not going to follow it kind of thing. I think that was a lot of mindset, including myself. I didn't follow it, but it's just, putting two and two together, it doesn't make sense. If it's such a killer virus, why is there time frames? Now, we've just been given guidelines that during Christmas, there will be 5 days of, 6 households or 3 households who can join together. But that doesn't make sense. If you want to bring a lockdown, you bring a lockdown. If you don't, you don't. So it's these kind of messages that you get. People start to think, okay, you know what, this is, rubbish.
And just to add, Hisham, on top of you, I think the broken promises as well from the government and the mixed messages, the confused messaging that's come out has really added to that. I mean, it recorded back in March, April, they were making statements that we'll be out of this, comfortably now by now. And of course, they didn't really have a clue, and that's understandable. But, the broken trace and track system, I don't know what's happened to that. Remember the big issues with the PPE initially in April and whatnot, that, they didn't have enough. How they left the care home to rot, in April, May, I remember. Let's not even get into the political side, for example, with Dominic Cummings, how Boris Johnson defended what he did. And, just they have not helped themselves with the messaging and the kind of consistent tone that they're trying to make us implement. And not to say that you shouldn't follow, you should, but I don't think that has helped any way towards it. And I think that's why some people are just like, well, I'll do the bare minimum perhaps, and that's about it. I'm going to get on with it. And I know a lot of businesses are like that as well, that they've, I'm sure we have some stories and whatnot, but one of my friends mentioned that a restaurant, I won't mention the name, but they were only allowed, for weddings, you're only allowed up to 30, I believe was the number at the time. But in the normal restaurant settings, they were able to have something like 80 people in there. So what they did is that they had a wedding, but they put everyone on separate tables, saying that these are all different restaurant diners, and they got fined. But I think that's kind of the point, that they've gone to that levels of, I don't say breaking the law, but that desperate because of how much their finances have been hit and how slow the government has been and kind of non-cooperative, or at least their communication has been extremely poor. So I think that's, like I said, broken promises and mixed messaging, I think, is the main reasons to add.
Yeah, like you touched upon, that confusion, just getting people confused, do this, do that. And then it does come to a point, as you can see now, it's quite widely documented, people revolting against certain rules. And people are saying, okay, 10 police officers coming to shut down a gym, but then when somebody is in need of an emergency, it takes 2 days for them to turn up. So, and then there comes the question from the government, okay, you had all these resources. Apparently the police had cuts in the last 2-3 years. And how did all of a sudden you have so many police officers to police this COVID rule? So like you said, I think it's just people are confused. And look, like I said to you guys, it's more of, look, respect the people that are vulnerable to it, definitely. It does kill people. It does hurt people. But then, if like I think Australia went down for a really strict lockdown. I think it was something like 6 months. It was only in the last month I think they came out of a lockdown, and they did so. But at the same time, the impact that it has globally, it will take years and years for people to come back on their feet. It is, and of course, if you look back into it in a bit more detail, like, okay, if there is such a demand, if you're worried about, they built the Nightingale, is it Nightingale Hospital? I think the XL was converted into one. I don't think it was ever used. And there are, I think, few centers across the country. So people start to question this. Like I said, the virus is real. It is here to stay for a long time. But look, take your precautions. And I think, like I said, when people start questioning these decisions, that's when they think, okay, you know what, this is nothing to do with the virus, or it's hardly anything to do with it. And that's when you start people revolting and, going against the rules, basically.
Exactly. I think just touching upon what Hisham and Adil said about mixed messages and confusion. Do you know when you say something and you say nothing at the same time? That's what it seems like, especially before when they said
waffle.
Try, yeah, exactly.
Waffle, call it.
Exactly. Stay at home, but if you can't stay at home, go to work. Or, the messages. You can't. You try to go through the middle line, but people see through you. So that's what's happened in this regard.
I feel like British politics is just professional waffling. Like, that's literally that's what I've learned 2020. Like, I say this, but you know what's crazy? This is literally just popped into my mind now. We have lived through 2 separate chapters in forthcoming history books. We have lived through the coronavirus. That in itself is a chapter book in the GCSE exam sometime down the line. But then furthermore, also, like, whilst that was going on, we've had this whole massive BLM movement, And I just find it incredible, like, how 10, 15 years down the line, we are, the generation that can tell our kids, yeah, you know what, this is what happened. This is, how we reacted. And I think it's going to be a great way to tell stories, like, in years and years to come.
Yeah,
I think.
Sorry, go on, Hisham.
That will be possible because, as you see, it's the impact it has had in our lives. In a sense, what happened recently in what's happening in France, the BLM, what's happening in with this coronavirus. It's going to impact our lives in a way that, like you said, I don't know, maybe like.
Okay.
Technical difficulties. Yeah. He's experienced at this. But yeah.
The exact same looks of work phone calls, like in the Zoom meeting. Oh, whoops, my internet's cut off.
One of the bosses might be watching again.
Gosh. Yeah, I think what Hisham was touching on was I mean, from my point of view, at least, when it comes down to the COVID, and I mean, there's more, BLM as well, and a lot of other stuff that's been happening as well, kind of around the world. I think it comes down to how things finish, how they resolve itself, whether there was a meaningful action at the end of it. Did we come out of this COVID phase better than we came in? And I think that comes from a personal point of view. I say from a religious point of view as well. How did he go in and how did he come out of COVID? Did it give you a bit more sense? I don't know how you guys have found it, but with a few of my work colleagues, they've been a bit more, at least some of them I found were spending more time with their family. Well, some of it because of it's forced, but they had more appreciation for their family, especially elders as well, those, who are in care homes, let's say. But, I've seen some good positive traits that have come from them that's kind of popped up. But also then, I don't want to touch on it too much because it's not the focus of today, but, the BLM, just because Rafleen has mentioned it, what will be the impact of that? Will that have some meaningful change or the start of some changes? And how much would that need to be focused upon or grown upon as well? But yeah, Hisham could finish his point now that technical difficulties are over.
Sorry, guys. It's an absolute own goal today. Sorry. I mean, other you
We were
can
saying, Hisham, is this the same way?
Sorry.
No, we're just saying, Hisham, is this the same way that you tend to leave meetings abruptly, just all of a sudden your internet's gone?
No, unfortunately, you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good point, actually. When it comes to a work environment, you have way less control over what people say. Okay, you know what? In a meeting, my internet's gone off. My laptop battery died. And this happened, that happened. I can't come on. It's easy to just shut off and close off and just move away from something. That's one of the challenges.
In this garden, look there, sipping some peach iced tea.
Pretty much, yeah. So you can't really tell. So it is one of those things about working from home, I guess. So but again, it's been like I said, it's off topic. It's those are things that you can't control. You see what I mean? So when you're working with other people, but hey, it's one of those things.
For sure. Right, you know what? I think lockdown has been something incredible. We've learned a lot about ourselves. A lot of time has been spent connecting to the world. A lot of people have also spent time deconnected. Is that word? Unconnected?
Disconnected.
Disconnected, that's the word.
Connected.
A lot of people have spent time disconnected to the world, and I have to say I've definitely grown the past 8 to 9 months. So as well as there being downsides to this virus, there's been a lot of upsides. There's been so many different people who've been there's this one example I remember I was reading up recently, actually. I think a Muslim sister who got signed on as a ambassador for, I don't remember, I think it's either Gymshark, the brand, or Pure Gym, purely because she just carried on working out at home, lifting sofas to deadlift and, squatting, basmati rice bags. Like, it's given opportunity as well as taken away opportunity. And I think that's something that we should also, celebrate with going forward, and we should keep the celebration going. I don't know, have you guys heard of any other stories out there that we could celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, with all the sad things that happened, there are a couple of things that, people coming together, supporting each other, especially, when one person's down in the community, people come together. So mashallah, you do see that, especially in our local area by SLMCC, they do have food bank going, and I think they're trying to create a bigger project with the council as well. And also, if you look around the world as well, because everyone's in lockdown, everyone's at home, some factories closed, and the pollution, air pollution, and the air is much more clearer in certain places. Nature as well, it's helping nature as well. But us being home, because usually we just mow down trees and whatnot, but because of this slowdown, because of the pandemic, nature is coming back to speed again.
So true. I remember in I believe it was Venice. Venice is a city, right, which is pretty much in water.
Yes.
I remember during lockdown, they saw like a reintroduction of fish and dolphins that people hadn't seen in years, purely because all the boats just stopped moving for such a long time. And it's a lot of people, I don't remember exactly, this has been going back into March time. A lot of people saying this whole lockdown was like a silver lining. Go ahead and see, it's something incredible. But you know what? Let's move on from lockdown, guys, because I know we've got a lot of topics to cover. And, talking about being connected into the world, I think, Ado, you've got a whole topic about, was it data privacy?
Yeah, inshallah. So I think one of the things I think will be quite interesting for us to discuss and kind of get our viewpoints is talk about the idea of data privacy and what we understand of it and what's the reality of it, if I may say. So I do want to try sharing the slide, so give me a moment. But while I am, how aware are you guys of the whole Muslim Pro debacle that happened maybe a week ago? So for those who aren't aware at home or at on the viewing the live stream, Vice News produced a story stating that Muslim Pro, an app that has been downloaded maybe 100 million times, something ridiculous like that, has been selling users' data to brokers, including the US military. Now, I'm sure, I don't know how much social media you guys have, but I myself have Twitter. Chaos. People were shocked. People are like, wow, every time a Dhuhr alert comes, it's coming from the US military. And, they're tracking my location. And a lot of negative reviews started coming in from Muslim Pro. A lot of people jumping the gun slightly as well, which I think we'll talk about in a minute. But how did you guys first react when you saw the news? Or were you shocked, or were you kind of, I saw it kind of, or, this not surprising, the whole idea of it? Hisham, you can go first if you want.
I personally think, it was, like I said, it was shocking, but I personally don't think people realize how much of their data and how much of their location is being shared by certain apps, certain, location. They're not aware of it. Like, for example, the first time I actually even realized without even knowing is if you log into your Google Maps on your phone, you'll realize that unless you have, it doesn't turn it off by default. Unless you turn it off manually, it will track your every journey that you have taken. And I didn't know that. I went through something like 6 months of my journey. I'm like, this has been tracking it. And we're used to just clicking agree, and allow, and we don't realize. Now the thing is, when it comes to Muslim Pro, again, yeah, it was shocking, with the preface that the US military had already said that they use data provided by third party. If I can get the actual source of the quote, allegedly that they use that data in the war-torn countries where in order to target certain militia or whatever. So this was, in fact, actually a statement released by the US military. If I can get the source, I'll put it up in here. But that's why it kind of shocked. But to be honest with you, I think Adil, you will dive into a bit more deeper about it. I just feel like people don't know that how much of their data is being shared, how much location they're being tracked everywhere they go. So I think if they realize that, they'll think 90% of the apps they're using. I mean, Apple are quite good with it, actually. I'm not sure about Android. They're very good with masking a person's personal data. I think in the US, sorry, I don't want to diverge too much. In the US, there was a alleged terrorist, I believe. I think it was one of the shoe bombers, maybe, or the Boston bombers. Apple refused to open up his iPhone to the FBI.
I remember this.
I mean, those scenarios, it's obviously, you know what, it is a national emergency. They should have. But the point is how strict they are with Apple. But I'm not sure about how Android or any other system works. But we just have to realize that so much of our activity is being tracked. And just to answer Adil's question, yeah, it was shocking because it was a Muslim Pro app. And it's something we use for prayers continuously. And it doesn't specifically allow you to select to share your data. I'm not sure. I haven't installed it. It's been installed on my phone forever. Never had to reinstall it because that's how much we use it. And with that statement from the military, the US military, I think that's what kind of shocked me personally.
Flynn, if you want to, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I think it was a point that Hish made right at the end. It's about how we've had it since, it almost seems like the dawn of time since we've had a smartphone and since prayer apps became a massive thing. I think Muslim Pro was at the forefront of it all. And, I know everyone was going ahead and downloading it. And, it was such an amazing tool to be able to finally, you don't have to search for a local area prayer time on Safari, on Google Chrome, or, whatever internet browser you're using. We had a whole app that will adjust to your location where you are automatically. You had a function where you didn't have to go and adjust the location to where you're at. The app will automatically do it for you. And to know that something that affected my own personal journey with Islam and, being able to see the reminders, when I first got an Apple Watch, to be able to say, oh, damn, look, I've got a notification to go pray. This was such a massive, turning point in my own deen, in my own religion, that I just find it incredible that they are selling this. Okay, but bearing in mind, they're not selling it directly to the military, but they're selling it to a company that then
Third
the
party.
military buy from.
Mm.
Like, yeah, look, I'm gonna have to put my hands up. I'm not, I'm no interest to be, targeted on. But like, do I then now affect my own, connection to the deen and look somewhere else? I mean, I have done, and I've gone off Muslim Pro because I am such a massive guy who, looks after data, and I want to stay secure.
Mm.
Ever since that whole breach, I've gone and deleted Muslim Pro. I think all my family has done. I'm not too sure about my friends. I've told them about it, but like, to me, it's just incredible how such. And I know if it's happened to me, where this one app has changed, the path that I was taking. I know it's done so for so many other Muslims out there. Even non-Muslims, if they were interested. Oh, you have a whole app to show you how when it's prayer time. Like, I don't know if there's stories out there, but I'm more than who knows. To then know that this is the outcome, this is my reaction, man. I'm just, yeah.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah, clearly.
And Azam, what do you feel? How do you feel about it?
I think, I'm not really surprised about how many apps use different data. So I think we need to look at the bigger picture. Everyone needs to look at how much data that we're giving away and what are different apps and different companies are using. For example, if you go to Tesco, I'm not sure if you've been to one of the bigger Tesco stores right now, but they ask for a club card if you want to access certain offers now, which is a bit annoying. I don't know if you guys have experienced that.
Yeah, I've seen
but
that.
When you ask when they ask for the club card, they know what time you're shopping, where you're shopping, what you're buying, whether you're buying Oreos or not following your diet or not. So these sort of information that companies take, you don't know you don't know how much of it is going up. Your phone has your fingerprint, it's got your face recognition. One of the most profitable companies is Google. What do? They buy and sell data to different companies. So they know what people are searching up, what items are hitting top ranks so they can sell it on, what's trending at the moment. So I think we need to look at the bigger picture and see how much data that is being used around by different apps, and more read the terms and conditions. When you go on website, when you click on accept cookies, and you go to the next page, and your JD trainers that you looked on a previous page comes up in an advert in the middle. So it is a bit annoying. So I think with the Muslim Pro aspect, did they know that the third party they were selling to was selling onto military company, US military or not? That is the question. Or did they not know it?
That's allegedly, like, they're trying to say, I think, according to Adi, will go through the statement, it's I think they have refuted that they know that this I don't know the name of the company, that they declared that they didn't know that they were giving it to the military, the data. So and I think, Azam, you touched upon something about club cards. Now the thing is, one side of it, they use it to track what you buy, when you buy, sort of thing, and obviously they sell that on to marketing companies and suppliers and manufacturers to say, okay, this how many people are buying this product in this location. Do you see what I mean? Now, personal data means that they linked it to your name. So if, let's say, for example, you go to Sainsbury's or Tesco's, you buy in an area, let's say Harrow, and there's a lot of example Asians in Harrow. You're more likely to buy more spices and Asian products. That's anonymous shopping. That data can be passed on. Do you see what I mean? From a supermarket's point of view.
Yeah.
But when example, you use a Nectar card or you use a club card, that's attached to your name. Do you see what I mean? Your name. And they could say that's to personalize your shop for you, to send you vouchers to say, we're only taking this because we want to personalize your shop for you. That's the terminology they use. You see, and I think it goes to say that even other applications that we use on our phones, majority of the time they won't function unless you, example, give your location. To say allowed to use location, allowed to share data. I think since the GDPR came out 2 years ago, I think that's probably from a consumer point of view, I think that's probably one of the most important acts that came from the EU. The Data Protection Act was there from 1998, but it wasn't as stringent or important. It wasn't emphasized as much as GDPR, and so I think going forward, our privacy and our right to our data, how that data is shared, is under huge scrutiny because of the GDPR, especially in the UK. And for working with overseas companies, working with people overseas in other countries, you still have to oblige by it. I think in the long run, our data is protected.
Exactly. I think whoever is like looking at our location and our messages and phone calls should pay a portion of the bill, technically, right? That's another thing we need to look at. So.
Maybe another time. Yeah. So I'll just read the statement from Muslim Pro that just for the date, so everyone's aware, 20th of November, they published this, and this is the last announcement they published. But in short, I'll just read a few sentences, or if I may say the summary of what they're saying. But Muslim Pro have said they are committed to the highest level of integrity and has always abided by this principle and is confident that this will be obvious to everyone soon. Given that, number one, we have never provided any third party with, and notice the term, non-anonymous data. And Xmode Social, which is the third party that's, let's say, alleged it's being sold to for now, they have ceased to work with us long before Muslim Pro had them as a data partner. Yeah, so I'll read that again. One, being that we have not provided any third party with non-anonymous data. And two, we ceased to work with Xmode Social long before, Xmode Social and Muslim Pro ceased to be partners long before Xmode went and started selling data towards the US military contractors. So they're saying long before they were giving the data towards US military contractors, we didn't work with them anymore. Now, I think that the terminology is what I wanted to hint at there, was the use of non-anonymous data, which caught my eye first. But in short, they're launching a formal investigation, and we have support of our lawyers, and please support us, so on and so forth. But they've given a bit of a FAQs at the end, where they've kind of gone through why you need to share data, do you share any data, kind of going a bit through their data policies and what they have internally. But let me just quickly diverge it slightly as we continue the conversation, is how bad are some of the, and I'm only going to go through the big tech companies in terms of your data collection or selling your data, if that makes sense, or the access they have to your data. And by far the worst, is what Hisham touched upon, is Google. Google's whole business is built off of knowing as much data as possible, right? Be that the largest search engine, which everyone uses, I think. I'm very, very, very few people use Bing or Ask. You remember Ask Jeeves and Ask Yahoo? but the precise location on your browsing history, your activity on third-party apps. Even some of the. Go on.
If your default search engine is Bing, you have a virus. That's all I know.
You know what? On Windows, when you first start up a brand new laptop or whatever, they'll ask you, do you want Bing? Not Bing, is it? Internet? Is it Edge or Explorer? I can't. No, it's Edge now. It's Edge. It's Edge. Yeah. Do you want this to be the default? And you always see Bing right in the bottom, the advanced search. But carrying on, sorry. But some of the personal information that they have access to, any stored documents, spreadsheets, YouTube comments, all of that Google has access to and is collected as data. Yeah. Let me just run you through a bit more. And this is from a paper. I'll maybe link it afterwards, inshallah, for those who are who want to really look into this. But other things collected are IP addresses, system activity, carrier name, operation system, application version number. These are related to the mobile phones, right? So this is part of the whole Google ecosystem. So I'm not looking at just one app, the whole ecosystem. And to be honest, a lot of people use, I think YouTube's huge generally within the mobile phone industry, search. So I'm going off the big ones as much as possible. But even simple stuff related to, if you have some of the, what's the Google phones called? Someone remind me. Pixels. Data related to that is receiving party number, forwarding numbers, times and dates and calls of text, call durations, types of calls. These are things that are collected. Yeah. Obviously, in terms of location, I'm sure all of you know, but they don't collect time zones, which is quite interesting. But GPS, any Sentry data that's being picked up on the phone, from any of the sensors they have, and anything about where you're accessing the internet from, Wi-Fi access points, Bluetooth-enabled devices, anything else that's related to that. And again, this is based on the idea that Google is based off of, data. They want to know as much information to personalize it.
The ethos, data is power. I think there's a word, data is absolute power, because in this day and age, so much data is being exchanged. And people with obviously there's a saying, it's, what do you call it? It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's that kind of thing. If you have enough data, then you have enough power. You see what I mean? And you're able to sell that power financially. I mean, Google collects it on a scale where, in order to, one of their biggest form of revenue is advertisement on Google. It could be on the YouTube videos you watch. It could be on the what do you call it? When you open up a search engine or you open up a website, as you can normally you'd see around it. Things pop up in relation to what you've searched or what you've been through.
In my opinion, bro, they have a monopoly over the internet because where do you start from? Search. It always starts from search, or if you know the URL. Even if you know the URL, that's a funny thing you just said there. You don't really say, I'm going to search the internet. I'm going to Google it. Do you see what I mean? Yeah.
So the people's mindset already is there. Google already have that power. And you know what? For a company to get, I'm not sure how many % of the world has access to the internet, but for majority of it, all of it, to be able to rely on Google, that is huge power. That's a lot of power. They know exactly what you're looking for. And that's, Google's advertisement is based on keywords. You understand? So whatever you've searched on another website, it might, you could just try it today. One of the funny things is that, I don't know if you guys want to try this. Maybe you have Google open or your phone switched on and you talk about something, and a few minutes later or an hour later, you go searching on a normal web surfing, ads related to that will come up. I don't know if you guys have tried it. I think you should try it. Again, that gives another set of, okay, is your phone listening to what you're saying, what you're doing? And you will see a lot of people who are, I wouldn't say paranoid. They'll cover up their webcam or on top of their.
My phone's covered in foil right now.
My friend did a paper when I was doing my master's last year on the idea of who are the actual people that need to cover up their webcam. I know it's a bit of a side topic, but let's quickly just dive into it. But the vast majority of people aren't, one is how easy it is for a, if I may say, a third-party laptop to access your webcam. It's very easy, actually, for most computers, if you don't have much security. But the vast majority of people don't need it. But I guess the question lies is, and again, I know you talked about Google, but they're the worst offenders. And as you mentioned, Apple, they're very, very good. And I think that's part of being a company known for their privacy. And, they've had, I'm sure, their share problems, but they've been quite secure and very upfront with what data they store. They're very upfront with it. And it's a very closed ecosystem, right? It's not as wide as Google, where you can install Google on any device, whereas Apple is just within maybe 20 devices across laptops and whatnot. And they're probably the best of the big tech companies. But my question to you guys is, and I just want to go one by one, because I'm aware that we have other topics to cover as well. But where does, I guess, if we talked a little bit about, Hisham talked a little bit about GDPR, some of the laws covering companies on disposal, the integrity, the portability of data. But where does the lines lie on the ethical or moral standby, if that makes sense? So is it okay, for example, if I put to you a hypothetical question, let me start with you, Mo. If I put to you a hypothetical question, is it okay up until personalized ads? Is it only okay for maybe locational data? Because let's be honest, some people enjoy having those personalized ads. They really do. They get the products that they want. Black Friday, I'm sure Amazon, you found some things that nicely just came up that, based on your Amazon history and whatnot. And we'll touch on Black Friday in a little bit. But do you think, where does the line get drawn? Because, I work with data a lot, and the level of access to data that we can have is humongous, right? Because I work with data modeling. So I see a lot of this stuff that you guys are talking about, but we have some laws in place to say, right, this is anonymized, and we can only go and process data until a certain extent. Past that, we can't go into the metadata, if that makes, for those who are aware. So where does it lie, Mo? Where do you think the line lies within the whole idea of data privacy?
For me, personally, I think whatever I need to, I guess, be automated, I guess that will be the line. Anything above and beyond, that's when I start freaking out. And I think the point Hish made about when you're speaking about a certain product or, certain service, and then you go onto, I don't know, YouTube, and you see that little corner ad, and next thing you know, you've got the exact product with a damn sale on there, and you're like, are they listening? I think that's the point where I draw the line. But I've been an Apple user pretty much all of my technological life. Ever since I've been introduced to tech, I've been I've been a massive Apple fanboy since young. And to know that, especially with the newest update of the software operating system, you have so much more control over what ad, what application has what allowance of data. And I think the biggest example I have is if anyone has a Mac and they've updated to the newest operating system of Mac OS Big Sur, and if you use Safari, right next to the what's the word? The search bar, there's like a little shield, and I was like, okay, I didn't know about this. I clicked on it, and I didn't realize how many websites have tried tracking me whilst going through, and Safari actually blocked it. And I think, as crazy as it sounds, I think we needed those data leaks and breaks and, I guess, intrusion into people's data for us to be able to get into more of a secure world. Because once it's happened, we can't go ahead and fix the problem.
Yeah, I get where you're coming at. I think, the idea of automation is something interesting because automation is all based on the level of data and access of data that you have. All of these things in terms of Siri and personalized ads is based on give us more data and we'll get better for you. So there's a bit of a line there, but I get 100% what you mean. Azam, what do you think, bro, for yourself?
Well, personally, I think for myself, I do not like any sort of data being on any sort of system. To be honest, like because, for example, I hate seeing ads again and again, especially, when, there's something that you want, you click on it and it just follows me around. It feels like someone's following me around, especially with the ads. So I do not like that. And even before, I think when it all started, when I was aware about data and information stuff, especially a long time ago, where cookies were a thing where if I went to a website, for example, to book a flight, and then maybe I might go to a website again 5 minutes later, the price would go up. It's because it's tracking you with the cookies because it knows you're coming back and it's increasing the price. That's when I started to become aware. And I'm saying, because of this, because of them having my data and all the cookies, I'll be losing out money because later on, by the time I click 10 or 15 times later, looking at the same price, it increases. So from that point onwards, I was a bit more aware of how they're tracking, people when spending sort of thing, sort of trying to leech money. So personally, I would not like most of my data out there.
Fair enough. I think I'm just looking through the chat. One of the comments made is the benefits of data collection and how it's helped us in the long run. And I think, you're striking a very much tone that maybe we've reached a point where that's about it. And I don't want it to go any further because I think, Hisham, you touched upon the idea of some of the data becoming malicious with, I think you said the Muslim Pro data, some of it was being used against certain minority groups in other countries.
So it was the US military, it was a statement released. So that's what kind of shocked you. But as Rifleen mentioned, that prayer times following you where you go and adjusting accordingly, that's a convenience that you get for allowing you to be tracked. Do you see
Exactly.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of a byproduct. And the thing is, like, when you're linked to people and it's not being used correctly, I think that's when you start to realize, okay, you know what? I don't want my data out there anymore. Do you see what I mean? But then, like I said earlier as well, majority of the apps you download in order to give you a better experience, now they collect your data. Same with the club card that Azam was mentioning. Now, for example, there's no point in you receiving what do you call it? Coupons for something you're never going to buy. You see what I mean? Through the post. You'd rather get something, a £2 off coupon for something you're going to buy, but that's your data being used. But again, like you said, I know if it's being used for non-ethical activities, malicious intents, that's when you start to realize, okay, you know what, is this? But us living in, in this day and age, I think we're exposed to so much. We've already let out so much of our data. It might be too late to turn around. Do you see what I mean? But it's to say, look, every app you share now, for example, like I was saying earlier, Apple's really good at, maintaining your data. There's a security feature on your phone. Riflin, I don't know if you know, it will tell you all the data breaches that happen and if your password has been leaked.
Yeah.
And that way you're immediately notified. Do you see what I mean? That's ethical data. Do you see what I mean? They collect data, they use data. But look, we're diverging into Apple. But just to answer your question there, as you mentioned earlier, Arden, as well, is that, you draw a line. I guess if it has helped you, you're okay with it. Do you see what I mean? Even if it's a product that's being displayed on your web browser, I think, okay, how did that get there? Wait a minute, that's good for me. Let me click on that. You completely forget about how that has appeared over there. Do you see what I mean? But again, but then again, after that, it comes down to personal preference as well. Is a person really bothered about it? Is something adverse has happened to me because of this? So, but yeah.
So, just last 2 points before we move on to a different topic, but all of you guys are given different answers, right? And that's with one of the issues lies is how much is your data important for you, or how much do you want out there? And I think the medium lies for me personally is for these companies to give you access to that data or control of that data. And we're getting there slowly. I think with the GDPR, it's given a big of a step towards doing it, but we are definitely not there in terms of having the ability to share whatever data you want to. If Azam doesn't want to share his location, but I do, that's something I should have control over. And I think we do to a certain extent. So that's extremely important in that regard, that the ability to control what data is being shared, and that's something that will increase with time. But I think the larger picture, and maybe one day we'll touch upon this, is the ethical nature of selling your data. If you've shared it once, is that allowed to be able to be sold to third parties? Has that permission been given along the lines? And I think that's kind of more of a government level, because that affects the whole of society. Data is being made not on just you, but they want 10 million people, or all of the Asian population, all of Harrow. So the last thing I just want to kind of touch on in terms of data privacy is, and I'm going to try and share my screen and see how this works, inshallah. So hopefully this works well. But it's just kind of ways to protect your data trail for those who are very keen or, want to start looking into this. So first way I would say is disable personalized ads. A lot of these can be found within the different applications. And for most of these different steps that you can do, I would look towards your settings on your smartphones that you'll find within the apps itself. Second is disable location services. Now, Hisham hit a very important point that some apps are dependent on location services, such as Google Maps and whatnot. But there are some that I think someone mentioned to me. I think it's called Wave Craze. Don't quote me on that, but there are some apps that delete your data within a few months of having your maps routed, and there's no personalized locations or kept as history browser. It's each one is independent of its own. So that's something very important you can look into. I think this is quite a common one, but use a firewall that blocks trackers, as the case with Azam, who doesn't want to see him getting ripped off on holidays. That would be quite a good step towards doing. Encrypt your DNS, and as part of that, I said also is I think it should be important that everyone is using a VPN. I know within Windows at least they've added a feature where you can go straight into VPN, so you don't need to buy a software. Buy a software to do it through. But again, look through whatever's the most convenient option for you. And the last one is use alternative apps. If you're not happy with Google getting your data, then use the likes of DuckDuckGo. I think it's quite popular, and some other application choices. Again, it's up to you personally what you're going to sacrifice, that experience of the app itself, which some people love and they don't mind, compared to the privacy of your data. I
think this has been. I think that's quite important. People.
Did a sham?
I think we.
From a.
Yeah, I think
Hello?
we again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, carry on. Get gone, Isham. Stop sharing the screen.
Stop you for a second.
Yes. I think it's really important. I think the hard points Adu went through. At least if some of them don't apply to you, you should be able to protect yourself. For example, only it's WhatsApp. For example, I think WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, they take the data quite seriously as well. It's just finding out what data of yours you want shared and then disabling. Like I said, if you're tech, I mean, this is for tech savvy people, but I think the main question is how does the rest of the community, like the people, our fathers, our parents, people who are not too much into DNS, VPNs, all of these other things, how do they go about it? Is it that saying, what do you call it? There's a saying, so what you don't know,
won't hurt you. Is that
won't hurt you, kind of thing. So if they don't know that's happening, there's a saying, it's completely gone out of my head. If they don't know, should they just carry on doing it rather than giving that fear that this is there? And but for us, it's something for us to be able to digest. Like VPN, I think we can quickly switch it out. And I don't think our dads are, not taking anything away from them. They're not gonna be bothered to switch on VPN.
You know what it is, bro? I think it lies in two things. One is education. Just learn about these things, and there's no race or anything. Just take it at your own pace. If you don't understand it, ask people who know a bit better and maybe explain it to you. That's what we can do from our side, and then use whatever tools are available to us through that control I talked about. I
also think awareness is quite important.
Awareness,
now,
absolutely.
Awareness. Just like, for example, the point I just made, I think I got a rebuttal for that, is that people, if we know something, why don't we just teach somebody else, this is how you do it? Do you see what I mean? Creating that awareness as to, this is what's happening with your data. Are you bothered? If you're not bothered, then that's okay. Do you see what I mean? But in general, people in our, I'm just addressing to our, our audiences as well. If there are people like, Adu, you're a data specialist, if there's other people that can, liaise and create awareness, which hasn't happened in general. If we can create awareness, I'm talking from a general point of view, then a lot of people will benefit from it. And I think that's the case with a lot of things. Us youngsters, if we call ourselves youngsters, Riflin, you fall into that category, but I don't think we do. But we are aware of these things and we can actively do it, but are other people aware of it? So awareness is a huge part of it, I think. If we can create that, it'll be great.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point to. Unless one of you want to add, by all means, please do so.
I think we've pinned it perfectly. I think we've gone through, data in general, how it's been used, how to protect ourselves. Basically, guys, if you're scared, use a VPN. Locate yourself in America, you're sorted. Right now, I'm in Japan.
But the thing with those VPNs is that unless the server is close to you, it slows your internet. Is it just me or you guys down?
It slows you down. It slows you down.
For example, sometimes if you want to watch on Netflix some American series that's not available here, it reduces the speed by up to 50% or 60%. It makes it really slow and inconvenient.
I've had it where it's actually sped my internet up at times.
You must have a good provider. You must have a good provider.
You know what? Let's pop a pin in this. We can definitely open this can of worms later on down the line. And now Azam is eager, absolutely eager, to take us through the wonderful world of Black Friday.
Eager, I wouldn't. This is I wouldn't quite describe eager. Well, to be honest, Riflin, I was sort of eager. I'll be like, let's get these deals, help the people out, maybe save some money. But to be honest, when I started scrolling, started looking, I came across more articles about what Black Friday is. I'm not sure if Adil, if you can pull up one of the articles on BBC News, that's possible.
Yeah, pulling up now, brother. Go on.
Yeah, thank you very much. On this article by BBC, it talks about Which, and it says nearly 9 in 10 products sold on Black Friday was available for the same price or cheaper earlier in the year, according to consumer group Which. So basically, it's sort of saying that all these products were more cheaper, and it's just sort of creating a hype. So, I mean, let's ask. I think when I was speaking to other people as well, I think I was speaking to Hisham earlier. He had a similar story about a Black Friday deal when he used to work in retail. Do you mind relaying that, Hisham?
Yeah, I mean, it's end of the day, it comes back to awareness. Like if you're really interested in a product, it's just creating that hype within a community. Now, making people think, okay, it's Black Friday, it's definitely going to be deal of the decade kind of thing. That's the sort of mentality that, I'm not sure about the American Black Friday, which I presume is the legitimate one. And I think they really do good deals back there. But in my experience, coming back to that, in my early days of my retail, I think it's just the tactics that corporations use, in order to boost sales. There's various stuff like Cyber Monday that's coming up straight after Black Friday. What does that mean? People just need to understand, instead of kind of following the crowd. If you're looking for something in particular, and a specific price for it, then I think you should diverge into it. But example, there was a tablet back in the, I think this was about several years back. It was when Black Friday was quite new. The price was marked. The price was £100. What had happened was they had increased the price to £120 for 2-3 weeks. And brought that price back down to £100 and put it as a Black Friday deal. And there was people fighting over it. Before that, there was no one, a few weeks before, there was nobody. People literally fighting over a tablet that is absolutely worthless. Imagine £100 tablet. I mean, it's not worthless, but do you see what I mean? The hype created around it by these corporate organizations. Honestly speaking, in my experience, in the last 10 years that Black Friday, I think, has been active in the UK, I've never actually bought anything on Black Friday.
Really?
Yeah, never ever. I just feel like that since that experience I had, I just think, look, unless you know about, I mean, Black Fridays, typically people go buy what they need kind of thing. Other people might be different. Do you see what I mean? For myself, I kind of look into what I need to buy to say if I need it. I look in a few places. I know the price points of the things that I buy. But for someone who doesn't know, if they're going into something new, then they wouldn't know. So I just think that experience where it just totally put me off Black Friday, and things might be different now. I'm not saying every single deal is a souped up fake deal. I would say majority in my experience have been. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did have quite a quick look at some deals, and to be honest, there was nothing too enticing as well. But in terms of that, people, you need to know what you're going to buy rather than going to a shop and sort of impulse buy everything. That's when you don't beat Black Friday, for example, in terms of the sales. Riflin, have you ever been taken part in Black Friday sales, or have you ever queued outside next 5 a.m. in the morning on Boxing Day?
Dude, you literally, you opened up a portal of memories, man. I remember, I don't know if this was Black Friday or Boxing Day. I think they've just merged into one memory. And my mom and dad would wake me up at 5 in the morning. I'd be standing out in the cold, outside Next, trying to get in. As I'm in,
Next was the one. Next was the one.
I'm telling you, man. Like, it was, I remember, like, you walk in and then there'll be staff members with, like, plastic bags, just give you, like, massive. Dude, they were massive. I remember being, like, 13 or so. And I just followed my mum with the bag open, and she'd just be going through whatever, just dashing it into the bag. And then when it came to the line, oh my gosh, there was like 6 bags. I had like 2 in the hand, like probably like 2 in each hand, and I had 2 by my feet, and I just shuffle along with the bags. And then my mum would nip out of the line. I would lose her for the next half an hour. I'm getting closer and closer to the till. Bear in mind, I've never bought anything to the till. And I'm here starting to sweat. My heart's starting to beat in. I'm out here frantically looking for my mum. I don't see her, and I'm getting closer and closer. And, I start letting people go in. Man, the amount of stick I got for letting people in front of me was unreal.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if you remember, but you might be a bit too young for this. I'm not sure if you've heard of supermarket sweep. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, that's old school.
I don't think I've ever, experienced one.
It's when I think from what I remember, it's when they give a customer like a minute or 2 minutes, and they have to go around the supermarket with a trolley and pile on in the trolley. Whatever they put in the trolley, they can keep.
Yeah,
so they have to go around the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was a young child when this was a thing. But I remember something similar. I know Toys R Us did it.
I think the best strategy if you're really interested in sales. Obviously, Boxing Day I wouldn't fully go against it because I do Boxing Day sales, but not in Next, to be honest. Because I heard, again, I don't want to be thinged on it. I heard that they manufacture goods just for it, but we don't know that. The quality, again, you see there is absolute. If you feel it and look at it, you're not getting what you're paying for, basically. But a way you can think about it and use it as an example, if you do want to go for, if you're a bargain hunter, which there is plenty, a lot of people like a really good deal, and I'm sure that applies to a lot of people, is if you want to buy something for next summer, you look at, you go at the end of August. That's when you get really good deals, because that's when the summer clothing line comes off, and that's when the real reductions, in my opinion, or really good price cuts come in at that point. Example, if you want to buy a coat for winter, you would go probably March time to buy a nice woolly coat, and that's when the spring line comes out. They really want to move the stock, and they reduce really good deals. I mean, look, that's something that I've found out in the last few years, but again, it's a different scenario for other people. So that could be one. But look, Black Friday, I personally not very interested in it, but it's depends on people really.
I know it was going crazy on Twitter. I think there was a online fashion website. Completely forgot.
Probably ASOS.
Pretty Little Thing.
There was another one. Yeah, Pretty Little Thing. That's the one. Dude, they were selling jackets for like 75p at like midnight when everyone was like offline, and just there was a couple of people. And there was so many tweets about, oh wow, so you guys are gonna go shop a jacket for 75p and not even tell me, don't even talk to me anymore. Like,
yeah, it
was crazy how cheap they got it. And then it makes me wonder, like, if they're able to afford to sell at 75p, then how much money are they actually making selling it at £25, £30 of that one piece of clothing? I just feel like that's something to think about.
Definitely. I think that is, I mean, it's not only about being conned, about buying products on Black Friday for more than what it was early on in the year. There, on the same article, it talks about fraud warning as well. According to the article, Barclays said consumers who fall victim to an online scam this week could lose an average of £735. So not only, so some consumers, some criminals are targeting consumers for scams and popular items as well. So when a person, they create websites and sell popular items, but the person doesn't receive the item as well. So Adil, luckily he got his PS5 and not a rice bag. Have you ever fallen victim to a scam by any chance? And do you have any tips that you would recommend to prevent?
Well, alhamdulillah, I've never fallen ill. So I think when it comes down to is just kind of touching on the Black Friday thing, why it's so enticing. The thing is, I think for me at least, why people find it so enticing. And sometimes, you see stuff and you think, well, that's quite good. And then you do a bit of research and realize, no, it isn't. But it's because all the retailers do it at once. It's not just Marks and Spencer. It's not just one retailer. It's every retailer pretty much doing it at one point. So if you have the right mind, as you said, with bargain hunters, you can do with comparing the price and whatnot. That's how I think you can get a good deal out of Black Friday. But I think in terms of my experience with it, I think you got to go through reputed sources. There's a lot of dodgy websites, and we won't touch on some of them, but as soon as they ask for your payments, that's probably why they've been scammed, or they've been led through third-party advertisements through through different websites, and we can thank Google for that if it does come up. But I personally use a tracker because I mean, a lot of people I think do a lot of shopping through Amazon, but I use a Camel. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but a really good price tracker for Amazon, where they look at the price of a good that are being fulfilled from Amazon and then third party, and they track it over the last 3 years, how the price changes have gone up and down. So it shows you the lowest price point that it's ever been, the highest price point. And so you can kind of see the history of the product and see, well, is that the lowest price point that it's ever been? And obviously Amazon's so big and whatnot, and I think a lot of people do the shopping, but that's one way of searching just through Amazon. And then you can compare it to your other websites, that you may have trusted, and compare the price point there. But that's I mean, I don't do a lot of shopping on Black Friday. Like Hisham said, if I need something and I see something that's a decent price, I'm comfortable with paying for it, then I'll just buy it if I need it at the time. But I won't specifically get something for Black Friday. I'm very much with Hisham's wavelength. I look to spring, summer. I find better deals and better times, at least for techie stuff, which is what I kind of get. But I don't know if you guys any any websites that you use. I mean, Camel, something I go for Amazon, which is really good.
It's a Google Chrome extension, I believe.
They have one there.
I spoke about this in the past. I think it's called Honey. Honey.com, was it? I don't know.
They do discounts for you, yeah. So they look.
Yeah. So like they run 24/7 pretty much, and literally all you have to do is pop into your shopping basket and then just click this little extension. And I'm speaking like this podcast is sponsored by them. It's not. It's something that I've used in the past.
But if they want to sponsor us, they can. Yeah.
Dude, honey.com, if you want to sponsor us, we'll pop out the details down in the description box below. Contact us. We'd love to work with you. But it literally powers the internet for any eligible discount code. And sometimes you luck out and you get 30-35% off, and even a little 10% off here and there. But if you guys are really into bargains, I would definitely say download honey.com, and I think it's a great little addition to, I guess, enrich your shopping experience.
Definitely. I think while I was looking at some deals, I think I came across a comment on one of the deal websites, and it said, obviously it's not my words, I'm paraphrasing what it said. It said, if anyone had half a brain, they would be saving for what's coming next year. And do you know what? Rather than, because with the job uncertainty and things going on towards the pandemic, I think maybe some of us who are uncertain or maybe need to budget more just so that, it will help us in the future as well. So rather than trying to buy maybe big expensive purchases like designer goods and jeans like £1,000, maybe we might need to be more smart with our money just within these few months and periods coming up. Definitely.
But I just think that, look, what you just said, I think people will, there's a very, what Adil mentioned earlier as well. You're good Black Friday, and you're going to go buy things that you don't need. And linking up with what Azam just said, being careful with your money at this time. Look, I mean, it applies to a lot of people. A lot of people have been affected by it. Just don't get convinced by this media hype that is Black Friday. That's my viewpoint on it. And it's just when you are looking for deals, you can look a bit more in more detail. Like Adil said, there are tools that you can use. If that is specific to Amazon, I'm sure there are other tools. Do a bit of research into what you are looking to buy, rather than just paying out just because it looks like a good deal. I think one of the comments mentioned here on YouTube from Anon, if I'm right, he's saying, there's a very key part where it says up to 70% off now, and only reducing it by £5-10. So they will attract you into attract you into the shop or online to say up to 70% off. And then from a buyer's mindset, you're thinking, okay, you know what, this is a great deal already because of what you've seen. So yeah, I would just say, look, just be careful and vigilant on what you exactly buy.
Same thing you mentioned with privacy, awareness, right?
Yeah.
Research as well.
Exactly.
It's important.
Definitely.
I think that would be a great place to I guess, end the podcast. Guys, I don't know about you guys. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and finish up, wrapping up?
I think we have some big news, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss as well.
I think
Aside the big news.
just to take away from what I said about Black Friday, I think just in general, there was someone who told me when I was very young who said a quote: "If you don't earn it in a day, don't spend it in a day." So, like, for example, I mean, it's just a rule of thumb. Obviously, it doesn't apply to cars and things like that. But if you're buying, I don't know, £5,000 or £1,000 designer jacket or something, if you don't earn it in a day, don't spend it in a day. Because how many days does it take for you to earn that back? And is it an investment? So that's only my take on shopping in general.
Good advice.
Great advice. I mean, I definitely can't follow up that piece of advice, and I want that to be a piece of advice fresh in our viewers' minds. Adil, Hirsch, have you got any last pieces of information you guys want to drop on the little gem?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot actually. But as I said, again, it's all down to personal preferences, like you said. Some people are careful, some are not. If you want it, get it. Look, life's short, man. If you want that, those Gucci shoes, or if you want those, Moncler jackets, just go get it, man. It's all right. You can make it up another time.
You're going to put people in debt. You're going to put people in debt, Sam.
I think obviously go in the middle path. That's what we're trying to say.
Middle, yeah.
It's all
like I do get stuff once in a while, so I'm just saying go in the middle path.
I think to end with Unknown mentioned quite a good thing in terms of a 70-10-10-10 rule. In terms of, I don't know if you guys have this within your own lives, but obviously you have those spends which you have generally, and then you have some money you save, and then you have maybe 5 to 10% where you spend on items you want. So follow something. I'm not saying 10%. If you want to go 50%, if you're young especially and you don't have any costs or any bills to pay, then you can work around that. But have a plan of goals you want to go forth and things you want to achieve. But be mindful of how much you're spending. As Azam says, I think I'll gravitate towards him a little bit more. Just be mindful that what you spent in 1 minute or in that one pin number you put in, it will take probably 30 days for you to earn back up again.
Guys, love those points. Definitely great pieces of information to end it on. But like I mentioned earlier, guys, we do have big announcements from me and these three beautiful chaps. We do have a brand new podcast coming out very soon. Over the next couple of months, we should be, keeping updated on our social medias. It is called the Decode It podcast. I believe it's Hisham. I think you had a little tagline that we loved. But you know what? We're still working on this. It's been, a plan that's been in motion, and we're super duper excited. So, guys, if you haven't already got these socials, keep an eye out on our current ABYF socials. We shall be posting it on there. It should also be in the description box of this video. Guys, any thoughts on this? I mean, I'm excited.
Super excited. Super excited.
Excited in the most monotone.
You know what? It's been a nice long podcast. No, but I am. I think it's just a case of once the lockdown's over, then we get to work, inshallah. That's what I'm looking forward to.
It'll be great to see you lovely chaps in real life as well.
I mean,
socially distance, of course.
Of course, social distancing within the government guideline. Boys, definitely. That's been us. From me, Mo, your host, Ardo, Azam, and Hisham. We would
just one thing. Sorry to add on to that. Keep an eye out for the ABYF calendar. That should be circulating in the next few days, couple of days, I think. So on our socials, on WhatsApp as well. Make sure you take part in all the events that are coming up, and we'll keep you guys updated through that as well. Yeah. So that's everything. No.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Listen, thank you so much for sitting down and listening to us ramble on. Look forward to it coming up next year. We've got so many exciting topics planned up. From me and three guys here, wish you a very safe rest of the year. Stay warm, stay safe, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah, everyone.
Salam.
Can you just
Jazakallah
tell me
khair.
when it will be shared?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Where the video will be shared. Yeah, it's just got a privacy concern.
And one day there.
we can blur